You know, there are some TV shows that just stick with you. They're funny, they're clever, and they become a part of your life, even if you watched them years ago. For so many people back in the 1960s, that show was Get Smart. It wasn't just another comedy. It was smart, it was witty, and it was packed with characters that made people laugh out loud week after week. And now, one of the faces who brought so much joy to that show, David Ketchum, has passed away at the age of 97. Now, here's the thing. You might not recognize his name right away, and that's okay. But if you ever saw him on screen, you'd definitely remember him. He was one of those actors who could show up for just a few minutes, deliver a couple of lines, and somehow steal the whole scene. And that's exactly what David Ketchum did time and time again. Today, I want to take you back through his life, his career, and why he was such an important part of television history. And stick with me, because later on I'll share something about his life that you probably never knew, and honestly, it might surprise you. David Ketchum wasn't just some background actor or a one-time guest star. He became part of the DNA of Get Smart. You probably remember him best as Agent 13. Now, Agent 13 wasn't the kind of glamorous spy you might expect. No, he was the poor guy who always had to hide in the most ridiculous places: mailboxes, trash cans, phone booths, vending machines. Wherever the writers thought it would get a laugh, that's where David ended up. And let me tell you, he committed to it. Think about that for a second. Imagine being crammed inside a phone booth, barely able to move, and still having to deliver your lines perfectly. Most actors would have complained about it, maybe even refused to do it. But not David. He leaned into it. He turned those little, awkward moments into comedy gold. That's what made his performance stand out. He didn't just play a spy stuck in silly spots, he made you believe it, and he made you laugh. And that's not an easy thing to do. But here's what's even more interesting. David's career didn't just stop with Get Smart. That was just one part of his story. He popped up all over television. You'd be watching a show like The Monkees, Bewitched, or Love, American Style, and suddenly there he was again. You'd find yourself saying, "Wait a second, isn't that the guy from Get Smart?" And the answer was yes, it usually was. He had that kind of face, that kind of energy, where he could blend in but also stand out at the same time. He became one of those actors you always recognized, even if you couldn't immediately place his name. And get this, he wasn't just in front of the camera. Behind the scenes, David was just as talented. He actually wrote for some of television's most beloved shows. Shows like the Munsters and McHale's Navy. Yeah, he had a hand in creating those laughs, too. That's the thing about David. He didn't just know how to deliver a joke. He knew how to write one, how to set it up, and how to make sure it landed. Comedy wasn't just something he did, it was something he understood on every level. And here's the part that most people never knew about him. David wasn't only an actor and a TV writer. He was also a novelist. Yep, he wrote books too. Can you believe that? While so many actors were chasing fame or fighting for the next big role, David was off exploring ideas and telling stories in a completely different way. That shows you just how curious and creative he really was. He wasn't just tied to Hollywood, he had a whole world of imagination that he loved to share. Now, let's pause for a second and think about why someone like David Ketchum still matters today. I mean, Get Smart aired decades ago, right? So why should we care? Well, here's the truth. His style of comedy never goes out of style. The physical humor, the witty one-liners, the way he could make the smallest role shine, that's timeless. That's the kind of thing comedians and actors still look back on today when they want to understand what really makes people laugh. In fact, many comedy experts often bring up something that David's career proves: there are no small roles. There are only small performances. And David never gave a small performance. Even if he was only on screen for 30 seconds, he showed up with energy, with commitment, and he made sure you remembered him. That's rare. And it's something we can actually take into our own lives. Think about it. How often do we look at something small? A little task at work, a quick errand, or even just a short conversation with someone, and treat it like it doesn't really matter? But sometimes, those little things end up making the biggest impact. David's work reminds us that even the smallest moment can be unforgettable if we show up fully for it. And that's one of the things I personally love about his career. He didn't need to be the lead actor or the star of the show. He found joy in doing his part, no matter how big or small. And in doing that, he ended up leaving a bigger mark than he probably ever imagined. So let me ask you, can you picture yourself hiding in a trash can for a paycheck? Or squeezing into a mailbox just to say a few lines? Most of us would say no. But David did it. And he didn't just do it, he did it with style, with humor, and with this kind of charm that made the whole thing unforgettable. That's the kind of commitment that makes an actor legendary, even if he wasn't always the household name. When you look back at the shows he appeared in, you start to realize how many lives he touched. Shows like Bewitched and The Monkees were part of people's childhoods, part of their family nights gathered around the TV. And David was there, adding a spark to those memories. Even if you didn't know his name, you remembered his face, his timing, and his ability to make you laugh. And honestly, isn't that what we all want in life? To leave behind something that makes people smile? That's exactly what David Ketchum did. He may not have been the leading man on billboards, but he was the guy who made those leading men and women shine a little brighter. That's a legacy in itself. So now, I want to hear from you. Do you have a favorite memory of Get Smart? Do you remember David Ketchum as Agent 13, popping out of some ridiculous hiding spot? Or maybe you spotted him on another show and thought, oh, there he is again. I'd love to hear your stories in the comments. And if you enjoyed this little journey back through TV history, you might want to check out my other video on another classic star. You'll probably find it just as nostalgic and just as fascinating. If this video made you smile or reminded you of those good old days, go ahead and give it a like. It really helps the channel grow and reach more people who love these kinds of stories. And of course, if you want to hear more about the legends who shaped television and the hidden gems behind the shows we love, hit that subscribe button and stick around. Because at the end of the day, remembering these stars isn't just about looking back, it's about celebrating the joy they gave us, the lessons they left behind, and the laughter that still lives on today. David Ketchum may be gone, but the laughter he created, the characters he brought to life, and the little moments that made us giggle, they're all still here with us. And that's the kind of legacy anyone would be proud of. So here's to David Ketchum, the man who proved that no role is too small, no laugh is too silly, and no actor is ever forgotten when they put their heart into what they do.